Welcome to a very special episode of the Novak and Frantz Show, where we celebrate Novak's 5th year sober, along with the release of the Brandon Novak addiction memoir, The Streets of Baltimore. Today, Brandon Novak is 5 years sober. The other wonderful thing about today is this is the official release date of the long-awaited sequel to Dreamseller, The Streets of Baltimore.
The 8-year-long anticipated, awaited sequel.
Yes, it is. 8 years in the making. Let me show them the book real quick. Look, you got 50 pages, full color photos, and you get what's really awesome about this book is we included Novak's arrest records are in this book. So he gets arrested about 6 times in this book, and every time you read about one of his arrests, you actually get to look at it from the point of view of the authorities or the rehabs you check in, the medical facilities. You get to see your medical reports and what kind of state you were in at the time.
Yeah, and that's one of the really interesting things that allowed this book to become reality, to become life.
Your childhood was very common. It was suburban. It was mundane. You had this dream that you wanted to be a pro skater. Most kids in America can identify with that, with this overarching dream that they have, this plan that they have for their lives and how they want to see it unfold. With Dreamseller, the book was about you allowing that dream to be decimated, whereas this book kind of brings you into the guts of what you were dealing with on the streets. The situations you found yourself in, living in a crack house, surviving in alleys, living under people's porches, having to duck the authorities on a daily basis. Throughout the entire book, there's warrants out for your arrest. These stories are unfathomable to most people, and right around the middle of the book, you get on the set of Viva La Bam.
I think he's on heroin, seriously, he's really skinny and he looks like shit, and I decided to take Novak in and try to help him out. I'd give him cameos on Viva La Bam because he had no problem just doing stupid shit.
And it's all these behind-the-scenes stories of what it was like to be a horrible cocaine addict and to lose your whole sense of soul and your persona.
Would you rather be spring or winter? Spring! Wrong answer!
You had to create this on-screen character that kind of invaded your life and kind of took you over.
Novak, you in?
Wouldn't have any other way.
But this book didn't really seem like a reality for a minute.
We had always envisioned a sequel to Dreamseller while we were writing Dreamseller. There were parts of the Dreamseller that we purposefully left out. The publishers were kind of pissed, and I said, no, we got to save some things for the sequel, because without these specific vignettes of Brandon Novak's life, we won't have the proper ammunition to do character arcs that are needed for the sequel. And the publishers are like, but without a hit book, you won't get a sequel. I'm like, no, people will like this book. And a lot of people don't understand, especially at that time, to get a publisher interested in your book, you had to have friends at the New York Village Voice. You had to have friends at the New York Times. You had to be on the in crowd. We had to shop it around to a lot of different publishers.
Yeah, we got denied many a times.
Yeah.
Because what I think a lot of the viewers and listeners might not be privy to is the fact that we personally chose to self-publish this book. In doing so, and we did it for a few very specific reasons, and the few that are my favorite is the fact that we have 100% complete creative control, right? There's no lawyers, there's no suit and ties, which you equate to less rights to do what we want with what we believe is a work of art. I believe that, and I really believe Frantz believes that.
Well, have a strong impact in the world of addiction for sure.
Absolutely. So with that being said, we wanted you guys to hear it directly from the horse's mouth without any fucking distortion in between. So we got together, and when I was in rehab, Frantz would come up, and Frantz said, let's do another book. I, of course, said, fuck yeah, let's do it. Not only thinking, but definitely not knowing the work that's entailed in completing a project from beginning to end. And here's the biggest problem that I had, oddly enough, coming around on the 5-year sober date, which is today, thank God, is that I had no belief in myself. I had no belief that I will be capable of producing a product that not only you, but the world would view attentionable.
The heroin was still wearing off.
So 2 weeks out of being out of detox.
Yeah.
I had no faith in myself. My self-esteem was fucking below hell low. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of all the problems that lie in front of me at that time. And you said, it's okay. this is what we're going to do. I've spoke to your counselor. We've carved out an hour out of your day. They're going to give you an audio recorder that I have bought. I brought it here for you. This is how you start it. This is how you stop it. Here's an extra set of batteries. Here's a list of topics that I need some more info on. And I just couldn't see how it made sense. But I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just try it. I'll just try. Still having absolute zero faith in my ability to produce anything worthwhile.
I remember when I first listened to that recording, and I was like, well, let's see what Novak came up with. Let's see how I can craft this into the larger framework of a story, how I can change the verbiage. What can I do with this? I pressed play. I was like, this is captivating.
And you said, I am amazed. I am amazed at the ability of what you can remember. These things,
the details.
We've just birthed like 5 new characters, and I was amazed. You said it was some of my best work.
Yeah,
but I think the thing that came across to me the most was the power of belief.
This is such a rewarding series that we're putting out. Every day, I get another dozen messages on social media from people saying, this book saved my life. This Dreamseller saved my son.
It's the disease of addiction. You know what I mean? When I was stealing from my mother, I didn't want to steal from her. When I was stealing from Bam, I didn't want to steal from Bam. Like, I did not want to hurt these people, but when you're hooked on drugs, or for my case, heroin, that's the only thing that matters. It's a full-time job, 24/7, that never ends and pays horribly.
Dreamseller was a rehab story. This is a little bit different. I wanted to have a sense of impeding doom. I wanted to incorporate elements of action mechanics. And I wanted to tell a 20-year story about someone's desperate struggle to stay high without being able to understand their own motivations. In theory, you had all the skills that you needed to recover. You could recite the 12-step literature verbatim.
Yes. By no means did I lack the knowledge that it would take in order to get survived.
But you didn't understand one thing. You didn't understand yourself. And that is what I love about this book, is that someone who is worldly, is world traveled, who has a book out, who's on Viva La Bam, #1 hit show, all this stuff, and really doesn't understand what drives them and can't control the most fundamental impulses. That's really what entranced me about this story of the streets of Baltimore. And throughout it all, you remain a very sympathetic character. Like, you do very despicable and horrible things in this book. You do. Like, you break a lot of rules of social contract that hurt the people around you.
Sure.
But you're powerless to this drug. And inside, you're a good person with a large heart who desperately wants to do the right thing and desperately wants to be able to control themselves and find sobriety. That's what I love about the streets of Baltimore. Let's look at what people are saying. I mean, Steve-O from Jackass has, he's never been nice to me in the past. We've had some we've had some mean prank wars.
I was going to say, these guys might not say that they're my friends. I don't know.
You know, but like Steve-O says, Novak's story is evidence that miracles really do happen. You know, Dr. Drew Pinsky says, it's a gripping portrait of adversity, salvation, and recovery. Danny fucking Duncan. It's so funny because, like, I've been watching his career unfold from afar. Him doing, like, the new version of the CKY video stuff that we used to do. And it all comes back to you. He says, Novak's story brings hope and inspiration. And then we got the Mark Wahlberg Youth Foundation came out. And they said, Novak is honest and passionate about recovery. It's like...
all this is being dropped on my 5-year sober anniversary. You know, like, these people that have seen my journey, my transition, and they say, hey... can you help me get sober? People that I party, you know?
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful thing. It's what Dreamseller does for a lot of people. It makes them believe in themselves.
Well, thank you for your continued work in the sobriety world. That, to me, is the best thing to come out of this, is to see all the help that you are able to extend people on a daily basis. So, thank you.
I put the man back together, the world fell back in place. Sobriety has given me everything drugs and alcohol promised me. Together we stand, divided I die. My name is Brandon, thank you for listening.
I've become a productive member of society. That, believe it or not, some people depend and rely upon me. That's fucking strange.
Yeah.
That's a difference a day can make. From me sitting in the parking lot on New Street 5 years ago, staring at our old place, wondering how I got there.
Brandon Novak of Jackass comes clean about his addiction in the new best-selling book, The Streets of Baltimore.
This let you see how real my life was. This is what heroin ends up having you look like in the long run, and the shit you have to go through.
Brandon Novak was a professional skateboarder who fell to heroin. He was destined to suffer a junkie's fate on the streets of Baltimore. Dope dens, arrests, and beatdowns were commonplace until a childhood friend brought him amnesty.
I think he's on heroin, like, seriously. I mean, he's like really skinny and he looks like shit, and I decided to take Novak in and try to help him out. I'd give him cameos on Viva La Bam because he had no problem just doing stupid shit.
Novak, you in?
Wouldn't have any other way.
Novak achieved worldwide stardom on MTV's Viva La Bam.
Would you rather be spring or winter? Spring! Wrong answer!
But the process soon paved the way for a self-destructive relapse that would consume him.
This fucking drug called heroin. Now ask yourself, is it fun? Or does it look real pleasurable and pretty? Or do you see something of this?
Including 50 pages of rare photos and Novak's authentic arrest records. For everyone whose lives are affected by addiction, The Streets of Baltimore.